Uh, birds in flight. I've decided to expand a bit more on this topic because my first video on birds in flight, link above, talk about a few more things, and one of those things is the type of shots that you get, right? So you want dynamic shots. You can go out there and just take photos of birds going across the sky, and they're fine. But you want dynamic shots. You want wings up. You want eye contact, bird coming straight for you, that fierce look, particularly if it's a raptor. You want behaviour. You want all sorts of things. So that means spending a bit of time out there and watching, observing, learning behaviour, look at the light. There's just so much to it. But if you go out with that mindset, you're going to get photos, and it will happen. And particularly if you're watching a few birds and you know that where they go, what they're up to, and if they're breeding and the juveniles are out, it's going to make a lot of difference with the type of shots that you get. So don't just go to a spot and just wait for birds to fly by. Still do that, but your intent is that you've done some homework and you now know what you want to get. One of the common things that photographers take photos of is the osprey, because they're so predictable, provided their conditions are right, and so you'll get some really interesting shots because you will know that their territory, you know they love to come down and have a bath, and you know the spots that they like to bath. And when they're bathing, it's a fantastic opportunity to get them coming out of the water with their wings up, and it really is special. And particularly as they come up and they start flapping their wings. So go for it. And something else, a little tip for you, is how to get those good shots of the display of the wings. And I've discovered over the years that birds coming in, they're raising their wings and they're using them to slow themselves down. And so you're getting these really good wing positions as they come in, and so that's a really good thing to do. And also I notice when they're flying off a perch, you can still get some good shots, particularly if they launch towards you, but more often than not they're flying away and you just get bum shots, and they're not the kind of shots that you want to show people. So, and don't get me wrong, you can still get good launching shots. I've got a lot of them in my collection, but I have found that when they come in, and you've positioned yourself because you know what perch they're going to come to, so you're ready for that shot. So when you see them, you're focusing on them. And another example is, say if it's a flock of birds coming in, and a good example is the galahs. I've been practicing on the galahs quite a bit, and a group is coming towards me, and I used to get frustrated because I would miss the shots. But what I started doing is I would just pick one out of the flock, sometimes if he was on the outer a little bit maybe, and I would track that bird. I wasn't taking photos, but the closer he came in, and so I was just tracking that bird to wherever he was going, and I just got so many different wing displays, and they'll be popping up as I'm telling you about this, of the galahs. And it was really good, and I was really enjoying myself. So, and I was learning, and my shutter speed was up. I had a good shutter speed because the light was quite strong. And what more can I say? Get out there and give it a go, and let me know if that helped you. Some of you probably already know all of this, but get out there. Before you go out, the night before, I always check my autofocus and make sure that everything is working as it should be, particularly if I'm always after action and flight. So I go through and check that it's tracking good, that it's locking on like it should, and if I want my pre-capture, I check that. What else do I do? I also, for photographing action and flight, you do need fast cards. You need to set your camera up for frames per second and go to your highest frame per second. I went through a stage where I wouldn't put the high frames per second on because I was just so tired of all the photos that I was getting. I was just getting way too many photos because I'm out all the time. So what I did is I got better at culling my photos. I'd make sure when I got home that within the next day or so that I would make sure that my card was downloaded onto my little drive, and then I would cull through there and then put it onto my NAS. And so, like if I had 4,000 photos, I quickly got it down to 1,000. And then when I got to 1,000, I then went through a little bit more, but I very quickly got it down a lot less than that. I got it down to around 200, and then I would save it. Sometimes I haven't kept anything because I've just been out practicing my flight shots. I like to look at my flight shots and learn from it, what I did wrong, what I can improve on. And one of the things I needed improvement on was my tracking. And so what I did, I just found that I was getting the focus on the bird, but the eye wasn't as sharp as what I liked it. So I started shooting more like a zone with the single point focus and a smaller zone, because on my camera it's got the flexible zone, and I was able to use that. And I found that pretty good, especially when there was a flock of birds. I was able to easily track the single bird and choose the bird that I wanted to track when I was trying to get the flock of birds. And that just takes practice. It's not the easiest thing, but you can do it. And you just got to keep persevering. And, honestly, you're not just going to go out and just get those shots. You just got to have a little bit of an idea of what you need to do and just keep practicing, and you will get those shots. I've got those shots, I'm getting them, but it just takes a bit more effort. And one of the things that I would really like to say to you is when you get home and you look at your photos and you're really disappointed and think that you're hopeless, just look at it and say, I can do better than that, it doesn't matter, and then move on to the next stage of your photography. Don't look back, learn from what you've done wrong, but just keep going forward. Some people will just say, I just can't do it, I'm just no good at it. But you've got to put a bit of effort into it. It just doesn't happen. We're so lucky now with these mirrorless cameras that we can, we're getting photos that we weren't getting before mirrorless. I remember I used to get a flight shot, and that would take me ages. I'd just keep going down and taking photos of, for instance, the osprey. I went constantly for a couple of weeks trying to get certain photos and talking to myself and really concentrating on it, because the focus was a lot harder. And I got the odd shot. But now I'm just coming back with so many more photos. And, I just think, well, what stopped me from getting that photo? And sometimes it was my shutter speed. Sometimes it was I wasn't tracking the bird very well, or sometimes I just couldn't keep up with the bird. And when that happened, I would think about what I needed to do. And if I couldn't keep up with the bird, I would think, well, how can I get better at that? And then I would make sure I was standing and I wasn't too close to the bird, because I had this habit of being too close, particularly with the bigger birds, and I'd stand back a bit. And I was really holding my camera steady, and I was just tracking, and I just kept practicing my tracking, and then I kept practicing getting a bird in flight and working out how to get my focus on that bird, and I would focus on things nearby so that the focus would be more responsive. And the other thing is tracking and focusing, you need you need good light to really do really well. You can still do it in lower light, and it depends on the capabilities of your camera and your determination. And so really be focused when you're out there, and you will get those shots. And I look forward to seeing what you can get.
Here we go.